What is it like to be ranked the #1 BDM in the UK?
Ranked number 1 in the Davies Marsh BDM benchmark report is none other than Annabel Mason of Royal London, who has had a fantastic career spanning over 25 years looking after the Northwest.
In this episode, we cover some of the characteristics that the Davies Marsh report provides.
Sit back, grab a cuppa, and get ready for the content.
Now, get ready for a word from our sponsors.
Annabel, welcome to the Trusted Podcast.
Thank you.
How are you? How are you doing today? What have you been up to this week?
Well, I've just got back from quite a long holiday, so I've got a lot of catching up to do, and just looking forward to getting stuck back in and autumn and, change of scenery, change of weather.
Yeah, we're back in that busy period of work again, aren't we, after summer,
nearly
before
Christmas now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Tax year end will be here before we know it.
Slow down.
So let's take it right back to the start. You started as a BDM in 2000, was it?
I was a BDM in
As
2000,
a BDM,
yeah.
And 5 years earlier in the sort of admin space, processing applications.
Yeah.
How did you get into the industry?
Okay, so I was brought up in the Isle of Man. I was actually born in Manchester, but I was brought up in the Isle of Man. And I didn't love school. So I loved working. I always had like a part-time job. But at 16, I just wanted to leave school. So in the Isle of Man, there was a big finance industry there, obviously offshore. And, in those days, I just sort of walked into one of those offices and said, I finished school, I think it was on the Friday. And by the Monday, I was working sort of doing the tea in an office, and it was Eagle Star.
Right.
So they said, come and make the tea. And, I started inputting application forms and stuff like that for the new business that's coming in. And really just got stuck in. And was probably a bit economical with the truth about the exam results I was going to be getting. And of course, they weren't coming out until the August, and this was like May. So, and I got stuck in, and I just really enjoyed it, and I sort of started from there. And then they did a lot of business that was coming in from South America. There was a lot of insurance business coming in from South America, and they decided that they were going to set up an office in Argentina, like a branch, so that they could administer all of the new business application forms there. And so I thought, that would be great if I could go over there. And there was a project, Project Puma it was called, where we were designing this new office in the Isle of Man. And then they would choose some people to go out and take this design to Argentina. And I sort of put myself forward for that. There was another girl I was competing with, but she had a boyfriend and she didn't want to leave her boyfriend. And I was like, well, I'll go.
Yeah.
So anyway, I ended up in Argentina and in
From
Buenos
Douglas
Aires.
to Buenos Aires.
Yeah, from Douglas to Buenos Aires. For Eagle Star. And my job was basically to teach the administrators in Buenos Aires how to key these application forms. So I had a whale of a time there. I was 19. And I was paid my salary back in Douglas, in the Isle of Man, and then they would give me expenses every week. We'd line up at this desk and you get this cash. And to be honest, you couldn't spend it for love nor money, really. I used to put this cash back in envelopes and send it back to my dad. And by the time I got home after 12 months, I had enough to buy, have a deposit to buy a house.
Wow.
So, so I got my foot on the ladder in the property. What I should say is when I came back, I realised I could never live in Douglas ever again.
Yeah.
You've seen the bigger world.
I'd seen the bigger world. So I went to Manchester. My family, I had a lot of family in Manchester anyway, so that was a natural place for me to go. And then I bought my first house and went from there. Anyway, sorry, I got the job working for Scottish Life at the time. It was, and that was 1995, and I have been with them ever since. So 30 years.
That's fantastic. And how did you transition into the business development side of things? Because when we've done a lot of these kind of calls and podcasts with people, it's not really the career that anyone whilst they're growing up thinks, oh, I want to be a BDM. A lot of people fall into it, don't they?
Yeah. So I was working again sort of on the administration side. I was dealing a lot with more technical things like executive pensions and SASs and SIPs by then.
Yeah.
But we used to share an office with all the BDMs. They were called inspectors in those days. I don't know whether you knew that. Yeah, they were called inspectors.
I've heard broker consultants.
Yeah, then it was broker consultants.
But I've never heard inspectors.
And then it's BDM. Yeah, inspectors.
Inspector Marcus over here, Inspector Paraduke.
And there's all these inspectors, but mainly men.
Yeah.
But there was one woman, and we all worked in the same office together. And at lunchtime, she used to go out. We all used to go out for lunch, you know, to the sandwich or whatever, and go look around the shops. And she used to come back with Armani shopping bags. And I was thinking, why is she with Armani shopping bags and I'm here with my little new look or something, you know? I thought, I want to earn the money that she's earning, you know. And I went into my boss's office at the time and said, I'd like to be in sales. And he went, okay, then. Here's a car.
Yeah.
It was a Renault Megane, and here's a phone book, and off you go. And it really was so different then.
Oh, I can imagine.
I mean, there was no phones, there was no emails, there was no mobile phones, no emails. Yeah. So it was, you know, the advisors that already had inspectors, broker consultants, they were off limits, obviously.
Yep.
But there was a whole host of advice firms that didn't have anybody calling on them.
Yeah.
So it was a case of you got your car, you got your map, and you drove around and you knocked on doors.
Wow.
And it went from there, really. And then eventually, actually, a consultant left who had a good panel. So eventually I sort of went into that, and that's how it sort of evolved, and that was great. But yeah, I loved it.
Crazy. And so you are the #1 rated BDM in the UK, and you look after the Northwest for Royal London, or, you know, part of that. What does your day-to-day look like now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously pre-COVID, you know, it was all face-to-face, and now we do a lot more meetings with on Teams, etc. But I'm still just quite traditional in the fact that I love face-to-face, and I'm much better face-to-face. The business, the job is about relationships as far as I'm concerned. So the best way of having a relationship is getting to know somebody, getting to know the business, and just having time with them to understand them. So my job is, you know, obviously to promote the benefits of the proposition.
Yeah.
But also to have to be there for advisors to help, you know, be an extension of their business, I should say, really, and to help them become more profitable. And I do a lot of that face to face still.
Yeah, one of the key points that was in the benchmark report on which advisors really valued from BDMs was reliability as well. What does that mean to you, and how do you implement that?
I think reliability ultimately, yeah, you've got all the basics of being on time and picking up the phone and all the rest of it, but it's like they need to think, can I rely on Annabel for whatever it is? So I need Annabel to solve a problem with an existing client, or the FCA have just introduced consumer duty. What does that really mean? Or the legislation's changed and now IHT rules are different. So can I rely on Annabel to be able to help me to understand the impact on my business? Yep. And if it's not me that does that, you know, I have all of my network and technical people and backup of my employer to be able to facilitate that.
Yeah.
So it's about somebody that they can count on, really, to be there as an extension of their business, like I said earlier.
I think that's really interesting. Firstly, I think we said it when we first met. Jack Rose at Triple Point said on the podcast he likes seeing it as being a non-exec director of his clients.
Yeah.
And I think the in-person stuff really makes a difference, because it's much more difficult to be that over a computer screen, right? You know, it's
Yeah,
much
I think
easier to be
so.
in
Yeah.
person. And we talk about reliability, and you mentioned there the sort of technical elements and all of these other pieces that are really important to clients. How can BDMs get better at not perhaps being a jack of all trades, but being master of one, but having those connections? Is that sort of how you position yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think advisors see me as being technical,
Yeah.
but I don't see myself as being technical.
Yeah.
So it's probably, I mean, having your chartered financial planning certificate, in my opinion, is a brilliant thing to do. I mean, I was sort of kicking and screaming doing it, but it gives me confidence that I'm putting myself in their shoes and that I understand what they're going through. And obviously, when you're a bit more confident, then you can, you just feel that you've got a better relationship because they're going to be able to think, that you can rely on them. They can rely on me, basically. So I think having a chartered financial planning is a really good idea.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's one that's been split on the podcast in the past regarding qualifications, but I'm a big advocate for it. I don't think you have to have them, but I think it just elevates you to that same level. As an advisor, when you're speaking to them, you can do so with authority, can't you?
Yeah, I think so. And I do understand why people say, oh, you don't have to have them, because I don't think all the time, just because you're qualified makes you a great advisor, and the fact that definitely. But for me, it made me more confident in front of advisors.
Yep.
So therefore, it makes me better at my role. So I think it definitely helped me.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've changed my view on it.
Have you?
Yeah, I used to think it wasn't that important. I think because
That's because you failed your exam at AJ, pal.
Yeah, it was. It was. But I think also because I've sort of felt like I've not had the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because I've, progressed pretty quickly at AJ Bell, then moved to Timeline, done the same. I think now I'm in the BDM role, I think I need to look back and do them.
Yeah.
Because it was conversations with people like you, Annabel, where you've said like, no, this does make a big difference.
It did to me. I mean, but I think one of my issues that I've always had is I don't particularly, because I left school at 16, I think it goes back to that. I left school at 16, I had very little qualifications.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I was stupid, but obviously, you feel like you got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it has really helped me with that because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do them. I tell you a story, actually. Royal London said, in your position, you have to do AF3.
Mm-hmm.
And AF3 is the pensions technical. And that's because we were pension consultants. So it makes sense, yeah. And I looked at the book and I was, oh my God, this is horrendous. I am never going to be able to do this, right? And then I did it. But I did it because I worked really hard, not because I'm super intelligent and I'm not, the most academic in a room.
Yeah.
So what I remember thinking was, I never, ever wanted to be in a position ever again where someone says to me, you have to do this in this time frame, otherwise you're getting demoted, because that's basically what it was. Yeah. So I thought, well, why don't I just carry on now I've got the momentum? And actually, if I'm really honest with you, when you're studying, there is a joy out of it. There is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrendous as well as it's really good.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're learning loads of stuff. And I know a few months later you forget it and you're not doing it every day. But there is definitely a benefit in the learning and the joy of the journey and all the rest of it. So I didn't want to be in that position to be forced again. I'm glad that I did it when I did. And I don't want to walk in a room and be the only person that isn't a chartered financial planner. And so many people have got it now. I just think for me, it just made sense to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Going back to, Lewis mentioned before, the number one ranked BDM. So that was on the Gareth Davies benchmark report.
We'll put a link in the description of the YouTube.
So for reference for everyone, that's a report. Gareth is a recruiter. He puts together a report which is on kind of everybody in sales in a BDM role, and it ranks different things and takes research from the end financial advisor as well. What are some of the benefits that you've seen from doing those self-promotion bits? Yeah,
I mean, self-promotion is difficult, isn't it? Because I think particularly women, you don't want to be taught, how great am I? That's it. So if we think about it as a personal brand, I think that's a nicer way of putting it, and probably the same thing. it is important these days. People want social proof a lot of the time, don't they? Who is this person?
Yep.
And what is their opinion? What are their thoughts? And I think social media is very good for that. So I think it is important for you to just have a personal brand and have a voice, so that people, when they come to your LinkedIn or whatever media channel it is, they can see, what are you about? What are your passions? What are you talking about? And it's really useful as well for personal brand when you're a BDM and you're looking at an advisor that you perhaps don't know, to go onto their LinkedIn and to see what their brand is.
Yep.
What's their messages? How do they work? What's the connection with you?
Yeah.
Where are you going to have that connection when you go and meet them? So a personal brand for anybody, I think these days, is probably a mistake if you don't have one.
Yep.
But ultimately, just promoting yourself all the time, which we do see on LinkedIn as well. I can't bear that, actually.
Yeah.
So you have to just be yourself, be authentic.
Yeah.
And some of these posts at the moment with this chat GPT, I mean, you can tell straight away with the words, and I don't think that that's going to last that much longer. People aren't going to buy that. Be yourself and try and be comfortable with yourself. And yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying I'm really good at some things. What am I really good at? What am I not so good at?
Yeah, it's really interesting that we had a lady on called Meg Bounds a couple of weeks ago, and she is a sales professional trainer. She was giving
Sandy
us
Bounds' relation.
Yeah, Sandy
her
Bounds. We've had Andy
daughter.
on, and it's Andy's daughter, and she was giving us some tips on the LinkedIn stuff about the kind of the generated chat GPT bits. The algorithm doesn't like it, so if you are doing that, it doesn't even get you anywhere, because it's not going to appear to kind of a wider universe, which is interesting.
No, it's interesting. I mean, AI is obviously a brilliant thing for a lot of, but also it's got its downsides.
Yeah.
But I think being authentic and being genuine is actually what's going to set you apart. The human side of everything now is going to become more important, isn't it?
Yeah, I've found that a lot personally, because I was looking after the South with Will and Kate and Mike Parker in my other role, and I felt myself like having to become Southern and like not putting a voice on. But now I'm in the Northwest, I feel you're very similar, Annabel. You are who you are. You speak how you are. Yeah. And I love that. I go into an office and I'm unapologetically myself, and I think that's a big part of the reliability piece and the authenticity.
Yeah.
We talked about mistakes there where BDMs are perhaps balancing a line of building a personal brand and being unsufferable. What are other mistakes that we see BDMs make, in general?
Just in general.
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake that BDMs can make is not speaking to the right people in the business about the right things. For example, if you're dismissing the paraplanners, you're not talking to the operational staff. Just seeing the advisor as the be all and end all. Of course, the advisor is very important, but so is everybody else in that business. And the advisor is not always the person that's making the decisions.
We've seen it time and time again, particularly with the bigger firms that you work with. You'll have a big investment committee, and generally it's your senior paraplanner who's going to be leading that.
Exactly.
The advisors will be on it, but ultimately they're led by that decision, because that's what the paraplanner's meant to do, the research, aren't they?
Yeah. So. I remember going into an office many years ago, and they were doing a lot of business. They were doing it with a competitor, and I knew one of the advisors. So obviously he was the easy target. Go and see him. It was comfortable to call him. Yeah, come in. You had the meetings. It all went very well. We had a great relationship, but nothing ever happened. And one day, and I can't remember why, but I decided to contact the other director, who I didn't know. Much more uncomfortable to do that, as we all know.
Yep. Path of least resistance and all.
Exactly. So I did that, and within 1 hour, I had, the promise of kind of like an existing back book of business that he was looking to restructure.
Wow.
And he turned around, I'll never forget it, and he said to me, "You've been talking to the wrong person." And it was a really good lesson.
Yeah.
That, really, I thought, bloody hell, he's right. Yeah, I have. Don't make that mistake again.
We all want to speak to the managing director, don't we? And like
exactly,
you say,
but it isn't always the right person.
Yeah, completely.
You had the opportunity to go into management. but you didn't.
That's right.
It'd be really interesting to understand why.
So we had. I've always had brilliant leaders, by the way. I mean, I've worked with some incredible people. I work with incredible people, and the leader at the time had just left, and then we got in. I think there was a couple of others. They weren't doing a great job, so they didn't last very long. And I think in a meeting, being my direct self, I said, "Oh, for God's sake, I could do this better myself." So of course, all right, then. Great. The interview's next week. It's one of those. Oh, hell. So anyway, I go for this interview, and in all seriousness, it was 15 years ago. So I was a lot younger. There wasn't any females in the role. They were all a lot older. So I was flattered really that they wanted me to go for the job, and I thought, well, yeah, I probably could do the job. So I went through the interview and, the process, a couple of interviews or whatever, and they'd said, look, we would love to take a chance on you, actually. We think you'd be good. I've never done it before, etc. So they offered me the job. And I suppose I'd never thought I was going to get it, really.
Yeah.
But, which was ridiculous now I look back, because why wouldn't I have got it? But anyway, that's another story. So I sat down with my husband at the time. Now, bearing in mind, I just had a child. He was the breadwinner, I suppose, of the family anyway. It was going to be a lot more responsibility.
Yep.
I was bringing in top sales, so I was going to lose me as part of the team.
Yep.
So it'd have to replace me. I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm going from a much more cushy number, I suppose you should say. So I was going to be learning new skills, which is all great, but it was a lot more time consuming, and I was going to be getting paid less. So that was a hard sell to my husband and to me. It's like, so you can be working more hours doing something you don't know how to do. It's going to be more responsibility and they're going to pay you less. I just felt that it wasn't right for me.
Yeah.
Now, you could say a lot of people, if they just see that on paper, will go, oh, you're not very ambitious. You didn't want to climb the ladder. Yeah. I genuinely didn't want to climb the ladder because obviously you go into sales management and then you start getting into director and then you're running the sales force of one of the biggest, providers in the country. Yeah. And I don't know, it's just not something I've aspired to do.
Yeah.
And I think what I've got to realise is that I shouldn't be embarrassed about that.
No, not at all.
I have had a wonderful career. I love my job.
Yeah.
And that has been good enough for me. And as we all know, the money in sales is great. And I'm motivated by money and I shouldn't be embarrassed about that either.
Not at all.
And I think the skill set that you use for management isn't the same as sales, is it? So then you start looking at, I've got all these HR issues to deal with that I'm not sure I want that. I think the bit of the job that I really wanted was to help salespeople get better at sales.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure really how much a sales manager does that anymore. And it's certainly a small part of the role, in my opinion, rather than a big part of the role.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Justine Randall, she was the first person we did a podcast with, and she said the exact same.
Did she?
Many people on her team who earn more than her.
You need to be happy. You need to not only accept that, but you need to be happy for them if they do, right?
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting because the other thing that happened after that was obviously the new manager came in, who was a brilliant manager and he's just retired actually, but he's been a fantastic manager for me. And I then could see his earnings and he could see my earnings. Yeah. And it made me think, well, I have to earn more than him now because I could have been in that position.
So
it made me even more motivated to work even harder and earn more money.
Yeah.
But
we are very, very fortunate for that. Yeah. BDMs can earn a lot of money with the kind of the uncapped bonus structures, different stuff like that. It gives you the kind of the ground to go and do whatever you want with it, which is really good.
And I love the correlation between, I know it's not as simple as this, but the harder you work, the more you get paid. So the more business you bring in, the more you get paid. Yep. I love that correlation because it just is just a tangible way of saying, okay, it's up to me. And that's another thing with sales management. It isn't up to you because you're carrying and, developing, and I know that's part of the role, all these other people. Well, I'm just in my own world, and I'm able to influence, much more influence on what I'm bringing in.
You're responsible for yourself, and your bonus is a direct reflection, I guess, of
and
how
I like
successful you've been.
that. But a lot of people don't like that, and I understand that as well.
Yeah. And so we've mentioned you starting the career, your career in sales 25 years ago. What changes have you seen in that time? What have been the standout changes, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, God, so much change.
You're not driving a Renault Megane anymore.
Not driving a Renault Megane anymore. And I was just saying before to you, wasn't I, about how, there was no phones, no emails, and you drive a car with a map. And, it was just completely different in those days.
Yeah.
And obviously I've seen the change from commission to fee-based advisor charging. That's obviously been massive, and RDR, big change. The biggest change and the most positive change is how financial advice is delivered to the customer now. And the financial advice has changed into financial planning. I know there's different words we can use. And I love that. It's being delivered in a way that's really beneficial for the customer. In the old days, you look back and you really do laugh now, but there was no such thing as attitude to risk questionnaire. So it was literally a case of, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much risk do you want to take? Oh, you're a 5. Funnily enough, everyone was a 5. You're adventurous. Okay, 100% equities. I'll just get my book out and see which fund we should choose. Oh, this one
looks good.
This one looks good. It has the best past performance.
This one pays the most.
So, I mean, you look back and that's the way it was.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And what I don't like actually about financial planning is wonderful, and you're laughing at me
this
now.
This one looks good.
Yeah. What I don't like now is how we're trying to almost cancel advisor firms from years ago. But we must remember that they have done a wonderful job. There's plenty of 80, 90-year-old people out there that have had peace of mind because they've had advisors that have had very good businesses. And just because things have changed doesn't mean that we just cancel all of these advisors and they're all no good anymore. These advisor firms still exist, traditional ones, as we know, and they're trying to move to the new model. But they've got legacy clients, legacy businesses, legacy systems, complications. So I think all this kind of like mudslinging on LinkedIn again about, these advisors are useless. That's not the case. The benefit of being a BDM for so long is that I have seen every different advisor model. And there is no doubt that these new advisor models are fantastic financial planning. No question of that. But understanding all of the models out there is very important for a BDM because you have to sell to all of these different advisor firms and you have to help them evolve into the new world. But it's not as easy as just changing to this new system.
No, I completely agree with you there. And I think we as sales professionals have changed with advisors as well. We've not been in the industry as long, but I've certainly seen a change from even 8 years ago when I first entered. It was still quite product related. Now, as you alluded to before, we're more consultative now. We're thinking like the advisor as well. It's not just here's a product to use for your end client, or how can we help your business to in turn help your client as well.
Well, I was very lucky because at Royal London they instilled that as a long time ago.
Is that from the technical side, do you think?
Yeah, they would just say, product bashing was not allowed. For many years we've been told that, and I think that's going back to the mistakes. BDMs must not product bash. You're there to actually get into the advisor's shoes and to understand how they're feeling. When an advisor phones me up, I'm like, how is he feeling? What is the client feeling about this? And I am the voice that goes to the Royal London and says, I am speaking on behalf of the advisor and this is what they are going through in this particular situation. And I think that's really important to do. Put yourself in advisor's shoes. Something else I've done for years as well is, which people find really odd, but I think it's just something that you should do, is go on advisor courses. And because people go, but you're not an advisor. No, I know I'm not an advisor, but I need to understand everything that an advisor has to do because I've got to sell to this advisor. So if I go on, so for example, there's a course about how to write a suitability letter. I mean, this is one I went on years ago. I'd call my advisor, say, oh, have you seen this course? It's £200 to go on the course. Right. Well, I have to pay my own money to go on this course because my employer can't just keep paying for me to go on courses.
Yeah.
So I'll go on the course. I'll ring my advisors. Have you heard about this course? It looks good. You know, I know who the speakers are, who the people are doing it. Okay, that sounds good. Then we'd go on the course together and we'd learn about the stuff together. So I was like an advisor, really.
Yep.
And because I wanted to put myself in their shoes. And I think that's really, really important for you to do because you have to be their spokesperson.
Yep.
Whether it's feeding back or the proposition holds, what they need there, whether it's the fact that they've got a problem with their clients, like I say, problem with legislative changes. And also, it's very important as a BDM to have a very good network with your colleagues because you are going to need them. So you have to make good relationships with them because they can really, really help you.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's the big part of the trusted community is, you know, why shouldn't we work together in a professional capacity and know where, you know, advisors can go for different things because you know, timeline isn't for everyone. Royal London isn't for every single client of every, you know, advisor's book.
No.
And so, you know, you need to be able to collaborate. Yeah, exactly.
You definitely collaborate. And that's definitely a change, by the way, because we used to have a laugh as well, you know, because obviously in those days, everything was face to face. And, you know, the BDM from Royal London, Aegon, Standard Life, and we'd all come and go from, you know, sitting in reception and then the advisor would come out, oh, you've just missed the Standard Life consultant. We used to hate each other. No, we didn't. But now this is wonderful what you're doing. This is great. I mean, it's very new, isn't it? And it's you think, why did we not have this before? So well done for doing that.
Yeah.
It is important to collaborate for sure.
It is. And I think linking into that and linking back to a question we asked before and spoke about is in that 25-year, you know, sales career and even beyond, you know, when you started out in Argentina and all that side. In you know, what we're trying to do with Trusted is not only connect people and collaborate, but also learn how we can bring younger people in, how we can make financial services more appealing to women. You know, no doubt that's been a huge change over the past 20, 30 years. How do we do that?
I think the problem that we've got is nobody knows what a financial planner or a BDM or a pension provider really is or does. And the problem, the root cause of that, I personally believe, is that we don't have financial education in schools. So we don't understand financials. We don't have you know, financial literacy in the UK is poor, isn't it? But we also, as Brits, don't talk about money a lot. Now, I talk about money all the time, but, you know, I'm sure you do. But a lot of people don't talk about money. It's not seen to be...
It's taboo, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's uncouth if you've got money. But if we were talking about, you know, what ISAs we've got, what investments we're doing, what pensions we've got, I think it would be much better for society, for sure. And the other thing that I personally do is, I mean, I've got a young son, and from age 12, I was giving him money lessons, you know, all of the stuff, because I think that that children should understand it. Because once it's ingrained in you, then you're always going to be good with money. You know, I think some of this being bad with money comes from the kind of your upbringing and then not being taught about it. And then, you know, you get into adulthood and you sort of got no control over your finances. Point of the story is that if we all knew about money a bit more, we would then understand what the financial services industry does and is. And it's brilliant as well because, I mean, how many people think you've got to be good at maths? I'm not good at maths. That's not what I believe my job is. And I don't think financial planners necessarily have to be good at maths. It's much more about the psychology of money, as we've all now discovered. So if there's people who you know, didn't get a star in maths, but are brilliant on psychology, then why should they not be going into our side of financial services? So we've got a problem with and we've also had quite a lot of scandals. So I think our industry's got a problem with the name. And the women thing, I think we have to get better at making the environment more friendly, more women friendly, whether that's flexible working hours, but also we've got to accept, in my opinion, that men are not the same as women. They're different. So they approach things differently. So understanding, what it is about financial planning that women would like. I think it's sometimes a bit, from what I've read, is a bit like, with a GP where they complain because they've only got 5 minutes with a patient, and then they've got to get another one and they don't have enough time on the NHS. Women financial planners, and they want to spend more time with customers and do things in a different way. So I think, again, we need to just think about how we deliver advice that women are going to respond to. Also, I believe the research shows that if there was more financial planners, more women would invest. If more women invest, it's better for our economy and for our industry. So there's so much we need to do in that space. Don't have all the answers there. I've actually enjoyed being a woman in a man's world, if I'm really honest. Probably very controversial to say that, but originally, again, going back to a long time ago, I suppose there was always the joke that, if you're a woman consultant, you would get an appointment because there wasn't any.
Yeah.
So therefore, you could get in front of advisors more easily.
Yeah.
And so, I think I've benefited from it, but that's not to say that I definitely want to see it change. And obviously, it is changing anyway. But I think it's difficult.
That diversity of thought and diversity of process and practice, it can only be good, can't it?
And where I work, actually, we've always had quite a strong team of women in the last 20 years. Yeah, certainly do. And it's great.
Oh, good. We've absolutely flown through this today.
We have.
Final question. What lasting message would you like to leave with the trusted community?
So you just alluded there to, not everyone wants to buy Timeline. Not everyone wants to buy Royal London. So part of sales is you have to enjoy rejection.
Yeah.
You have to learn to enjoy it, because it's when the answer is no, and then it's yes.
Yeah.
That is the biggest buzz you can get.
Yeah.
So you have to accept the lows, because you wouldn't have the highs.
Yeah.
Where I have seen a lot of people, they just can't handle the rejection, and I know it's difficult, but I think if you learn to enjoy the rejection, and that allows you to then start to challenge advisors. Challenging advisors is so important, because without challenging them, how are you going to get them to change their mind? And I think my direct nature has really helped me with that. And I think it's really difficult for a lot of people to do. But if you can master being able to challenge someone in a professional way, in a jovial way, in a fun way, that's when you're going to start to see things change. But without the lows, you can't have the highs. It's a bit like when we explain the stock market and the volatility, and how you've got to enjoy the ride. Because that is the job. Rejection is the job.
It is.
And again, going back to the woman thing, I think the statistics show that it's that type of environment that women don't respond as well with, in general. Stereotyping there. But I think for sales, it is important that you can kind of get your head around that.
Yeah.
You've got to learn it, haven't you? There was a stat the other day, so I'm big into my golf, as you'll know.
Yes.
Tommy Fleetwood, who's a local golfer, he has spent 164, I think, PGA Tours without a win. He's just won his first one. That's getting
exactly.
164 times, and he's won 7 million quid or something, on this one. And that's, I had a no last week, and then I saw that stat and thought, it's not all that bad, is it? It's...
No, and the thing is, if you get a yes, that would just be amazing, won't it?
Yeah.
If everybody says yes to you all the time, it isn't any fun, is it? Come on, it's not.
No.
And I think you have to make a job. If you've been somewhere 30 years, you have to make it fun.
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, you have to make it fun, because part and parcel of the job is to have those challenging conversations. But I always do believe that, and this is where the passion comes in. If you're passionate about what you believe, you welcome challenge. So you have to be challenged that your product and proposition might not be the best thing for everybody. And advisors have to be challenged, because if they are passionate about what they do, then they'll accept the challenge. You must remember that.
Yeah.
It's not an insult to challenge. You have to learn there's a technique to it, obviously. And you have to have been given probably quite a bit of value before you start barging in, challenging them. So there's, it's sales techniques really. But that is really an important part of your role, is to challenge, to accept the rejection and to keep going.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks for that, Annabel. It's been fantastic having you.
Thanks for having
you
me
on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.